The rain was falling in steady drumming sheets when David noticed her. She was sitting at the edge of the bus stop, a tattered blanket barely shielding her from the cold, her legs tucked under her like a secret she didn't want the world to see. His first instinct was to look away, the way most people do when confronted with someone else's pain, but there was something in her eyes, a quiet defiance wrapped in exhaustion, that made him stop. She was alone, paralyzed from the waist down, and yet her gaze carried a strength he couldn't ignore. David was used to challenges. As a single dad, raising his 7-year-old daughter Mia, his life was a delicate balancing act between work, school runs, and the constant worry of being enough. He didn't have much, just a modest apartment on the 3rd floor of a worn-out building. But what he did have, he tried to share generously with Mia. And in that moment, as he watched the girl shivering, he felt a tug in his chest that demanded action. "Hey," he said gently, crouching down to meet her eyes. "Are you okay?" She looked at him, and for a moment he feared she wouldn't answer. Then, in a voice as fragile as paper but filled with quiet resilience, she said, I'm waiting for the bus." "Where are you headed?" he asked. She shook her head. "Nowhere, just somewhere warm." Her words were a whisper, almost swallowed by the rain, and David felt a lump form in his throat. Here was a girl, perhaps no older than 16, left to the mercy of the elements with no one to care. His life was complicated, but his heart refused to let him walk away. "Come with me," he said. Without waiting for her answer, he gently lifted her into his arms. She stiffened at first, uncertainty flashing in her eyes, but something in David's tone told her she was safe. "I won't hurt you," he added, more to reassure himself than her. Carrying her home was no small feat. His apartment building had a narrow staircase, and each step was an exercise in patience and determination. Mia ran ahead, her small hands ready to open doors and help however she could. When they finally reached the apartment, the girl's eyes widened at the cozy, cluttered space. A small lamp cast a warm glow over the living room, and a kettle whistled softly in the background, announcing its readiness for tea. I don't want to be a burden," she murmured, her voice trembling. "You're not a burden," David replied firmly, setting her gently on the couch. "Everyone deserves a place where they feel safe. You'll have that here, at least for tonight." Mia appeared beside them, offering a shy smile. "Hi, I'm Mia," she said. "Do you want some cocoa?" The girl blinked, startled by the kindness of strangers. I don't know how to say thank you." "You don't have to," David said, kneeling to her level. "Sometimes it's enough just to let someone help you." That night, as the rain tapped against the windows and the apartment filled with the smell of hot chocolate and cinnamon, the girl finally spoke more than a few words. Her name was Lily. She had been living on the streets since her parents died in a car accident, paralyzed in an incident she rarely mentioned. Every day had been a battle between survival and despair, and every person she met either pitied her or ignored her entirely. David listened without judgment, allowing her to unburden herself in a way she hadn't in years. Over the next few weeks, Lily became part of their little family. David arranged for her to receive physical therapy, even if it was just small exercises at home to keep her muscles from atrophying. He spoke to his employer about flexible hours, so he could be there for both Mia and Lily. And Mia, with the innocence only a child could possess, treated Lily as the sister she had never known she needed. One evening, as David watched Lily struggle to wheel herself across the living room floor, he felt a pang of helplessness. "I wish I could do more for you," he said softly. Lily stopped and looked at him, her eyes glistening. "You've already done more than anyone else ever has," she whispered. "You gave me a home. You gave me hope." It was then that David realized the true weight of what he had done. It wasn't about saving someone from the rain or offering temporary shelter. It was about seeing a human being, recognizing their worth, and refusing to let them slip through the cracks of a world that often looks the other way. Days turned into weeks, and the three of them settled into a new rhythm. Mornings were filled with laughter as Mia helped Lily with her exercises and breakfast, often turning them into games. David would leave for work with a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years, knowing that both girls were cared for and not alone in the world. He watched Lily slowly regain confidence, her smile growing brighter with each passing day. And though she still carried the weight of her past, she no longer faced it in isolation. One cold Saturday morning, as the first snowflakes of the season began to fall, Lily expressed a small wish. She wanted to go to the park. The thought of the icy wind and crowded benches worried David, but he saw the excitement in her eyes and realized that giving her this moment of normalcy was more important than his fears. They bundled up in scarves, hats, and mittens, and with Mia pushing her wheelchair, they ventured out. At the park, Lily laughed in a way that made David's heart ache with joy. Children stared curiously, and some even waved, enchanted by her resilience and radiant smile. For the first time in years, she felt free, not defined by her paralysis, not bound by tragedy, but alive with possibility. And in that moment, David felt something shift within himself too. He realized that every act of compassion had a ripple effect, not just for the one receiving it, but for the giver as well. Months passed, and with therapy, determination, and the unwavering support of David and Mia, Lily grew stronger. She couldn't walk yet, but she could maneuver her wheelchair with skill and independence. She laughed again, sang again, and even enrolled in an online school, reclaiming pieces of a life she thought were lost forever. One evening, as the three of them sat on the small balcony watching the sunset, Lily turned to David. "You know," she said, "I thought I was invisible. I thought no one cared but you. You changed everything." David felt a lump in his throat. "No one changed everything. You did, Lily. You survived, you fought, and you let us in. That's courage. That's bravery." She smiled, a small, radiant thing, and hugged him tightly. Mia joined in, forming a triangle of warmth and love that defied all the darkness they had once known. In that moment, David realized that kindness doesn't always have to be grand gestures or life-altering donations. Sometimes it's as simple as offering a hand when someone falls, saying, "You are seen, you are worthy, you are not alone." Time moved forward, and the apartment, once quiet and lonely, became a haven of laughter, music, and shared dreams. Lily began to write, chronicling her journey of survival, pain, and hope. She spoke to other children online, encouraging those in similar circumstances, sharing the truth that even in the darkest moments, someone, somewhere cares. David watched her grow into a young woman of immense courage and wisdom, marveling at the resilience of the human spirit. Then came the day when David received a letter from the local community center. It was an invitation for Lily to participate in a youth leadership program, a chance to share her story with a wider audience. He handed it to her with pride, and she read it with wide, astonished eyes. "They want me?" she whispered. "Yes," David said softly. "Because you're remarkable, and because the world needs to hear what you have to say." At the program, Lily shared her journey, the nights spent in the cold, the fear of being invisible, and the small acts of kindness that had changed her life. She spoke of David and Mia, of the warmth of their home, and of the love that had shown her that she was not defined by her circumstances, but by her courage and heart. The audience listened in rapt silence, some wiping tears from their eyes, others nodding in deep understanding. "Some people wait for miracles," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. "But sometimes, the miracle is a stranger who says, 'Come with me.' Sometimes, the miracle is a hand reaching out when you think no one will." David watched her, his heart swelling with gratitude, and knew that every hardship, every sleepless night, every sacrifice had led to this moment. It was proof that compassion can ripple through lives, that selflessness can transform despair into hope, and that humanity, at its best, can create families in the most unexpected places. The rain had stopped long ago that fateful day, but the warmth of that evening lingered in their hearts forever. A single act of kindness had created a chain of hope, and in their little apartment, with the soft glow of the lamp and the laughter of two girls who had found a home, David understood the truth that would guide him for the rest of his life. Sometimes, saving someone else is the very thing that saves you. And as the years went on, their bond only deepened. Mia grew into a thoughtful, compassionate girl, inspired by the example set by David and Lily. The three of them became inseparable, a testament to the fact that family isn't always defined by blood, but by love, loyalty, and the courage to care when it matters most. In that quiet, ordinary apartment, a family, unexpected, imperfect, and beautiful, thrived. They proved that love, compassion, and the courage to act are the truest forms of magic in the world. And for David, the girl he had carried out of the rain had become not just a part of his life, but a part of his heart, a living reminder that every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the power to change everything.